Hi guys, welcome to today's tutorial. In today's video, we are going to make some resin keychains and we are going to be customizing them with transparent sticker. So first of all, we are going to be needing some materials. We'll be needing some white mica powder, some blue mica powder. We'll also be using some leaf sheets. This is a silver colored leaf sheet. We'll also be using some pre-mixed resin with hardener. This resin has already been mixed with hardener, so we'll not be doing any mixing on camera. We'll also be using some mixing sticks and some small distributing cups, as well as this little scoop here for scooping the pigments into the resin. And for the keychains, we'll be needing this multiple cavity different shape mold. So first of all, we are going to be pouring the desired quantity of resin into the distributing cups. So we will be pouring based on the quantity we need for each of the colors we are working with. So this one here, I'm going to pour a decent quantity into this one, and then I'm going to do the same for the second cup as well. So when pouring your resin into the cups before adding the colorants, there are no rules. You just pour based on the quantity you want per color. Now let's get right into the tutorial. So since we'll not be using the mold for the mixing, I'm going to put that aside so that we'll get enough space for the mixing. So for today's tutorial, we'll be mixing these two colors together. So sometimes you might be working with some type of pigment. Let's say you have this deep blue and you want a lighter shade of the blue. You don't necessarily always have to get all the colors that are available in the world. You can always learn the color theory and then know how to make certain colors to obtain either darker shades or lighter shades, or maybe entirely different colors in all. So today we are going to be mixing white mica powder with this royal blue mica powder. So I'm going to start with the white. I'm going to get a decent quantity of the white into the resin, and I'm going to mix that in very well before we will add in the blue the royal blue mica powder. Great. So with the help of the mixing stick, I'm just going to mix that in very well, and then once that's done, I'm going to add in a little quantity of the blue just to form or just to create a lighter shade of the blue mica powder. Just so you don't also get confused, the resin we are working with in the tutorial has already been mixed with hardener, right? We are working with a 3:1 mix ratio, and then the resin has already been mixed with hardener before the tutorial began. I'm actually working with resin that was used in a previous tutorial, so I didn't want to end up wasting the leftover resin or end up using too much time mixing another batch of resin. So I just decided to use that same batch of resin in this tutorial without wasting much time. So that's what we're going to do. And then anytime you're mixing in your resin, your pigment in the resin, make sure if it's a powdered pigment or colorant, you're going to mix it in one corner of the cup before you mix the entire thing together. That way you avoid getting lumps inside the project or inside the resin once you are working with it. Also, just so you don't get confused or something like that, don't leave the resin to sit for a very long time, okay? The fact that I used this in the previous tutorial does not mean it sat in the cup for a very long time. I rushed with the previous one and then I just hurried up and used the same leftover resin in this tutorial. So here I'm going to scoop a little quantity of the blue into the cup. I'm going to be mixing the entire thing together in. So depending on the shade of blue you want, you can start with a little quantity, okay? You can start with a little quantity and then you can proceed to add more if you want the blue to be a little darker or a little deeper. So here I didn't want it to be too deep, so I just poured a little quantity of the blue mica powder into the resin that had already been mixed with the white mica powder and mixed the entire thing together. So you realize that we are getting a very beautiful shade of blue here. It's a very pretty shade of blue. We are getting this from mixing just white mica with royal blue mica powder. You see how pretty it's looking? Yeah. So let's say you have red mica powder and you have white mica and you want pink. You can start with the white, and then when you're done, you're going to mix in a little bit of the red. If you're not getting the effect you are looking for, then you can try and add a little more to it. But once you do get the effect you are looking for, you can just proceed and pour into the mold you are working with. So once the blue has been mixed in, we are going to move on to adding the leaf sheets to the second cup of resin. You should always remember to dip the mixing stick into the resin, which has already been mixed with hardener. Okay, you dip it into the resin, get a little quantity of the resin on the tip of the mixing stick before you tap on the surface of the leaf sheets and roll. This is a very easy process, and it ensures that you get all the leaf sheets into the cup or wherever you want it to be moved or transferred into. So once you start to stir that into the resin, it will just dissolve or it will just shred into the resin and give you this beautiful shimmer effect, or yeah, this flaky effect, and it's very shiny. That's one reason why I prefer working with the leaf sheets. It's easy to work with, it easily dissolves in the resin, and it gives a very shiny effect, a very beautiful effect once it's added to the resin. So this is what we are going to be pouring into the mold. So once that was all done, all that was left for us to do was to pour the pigments or the resin into the mold we are working with. Now this is where you are going to start to show your creativity. Okay, so you're going to pour depending on the effect you are working with. So to make this easier, I'm going to try and create or work around 3 different ways of pouring this. Okay, some people struggle with pouring the resin or the pigmented resin with the flakes on the side in a straight manner. As in, sometimes when they do pour, it mixes or they don't get it where they want it to go. So you can start by pouring the both of them together. That way they meet at a point. Okay, so when you pour them together, you will get them in a straight line. Okay, the second method is to pour the blue first. Okay, and then once you've gotten the angle where you want the blue to end, you can pour the silver flakes and proceed to pour the rest of the blue into the mold. So these are the 2 main ways of pouring this type of effect so that you get the flakes where you want it to be. Okay, great. Now for the last one, I just decided to pour them together at the same time and just give it this kind of circular motion effect. So whenever you are working with resin, one thing you're going to realize is that this is kind of a printing process. Okay, so I want you to think of resin as a printing process. So let's use a scenario where you send a file or a document to a printer to print it out for you, and the printer is just going to print the exact document or file it has been instructed to print. So in this scenario, we are going to be the printer, and then we are trying to print out the kind of design that we have in our minds. Okay, so if your design has one color on one side and the other on the other side, you just do that with the resin. So once this was ready or once this was done, it was left to sit for 24 hours for it to cure and harden before we can add the transparent sticker. So this is the project after 24 hours. It's solid enough, and now we can proceed and add in the transparent sticker for the design. So one reason why we wait for it to cure before we can add the sticker is that you realize stickers adhere to solid surfaces. So if it's still liquid, you cannot adhere any sticker to it. So you have to wait for it to be solid enough before you can adhere the sticker on the surface. You understand? Great. So just imagine trying to adhere a sticker on water. It's not going to work. Okay. So we wait till it's solid enough before we can add the sticker. So for the transparent sticker, the main source of getting your transparent printout is the printing press. So with them, they do large format printing, meaning you cannot just go and print a single name like Akosia or Erica or Apina. You always have to make sure the design you are printing is bulk before they are going to do it for you. So once they do the print out, they can actually do a print and cut option where they will print it and cut it for you. But in this scenario, I'm trying to do a description where they didn't do the cutting and it's just a printout. So you are going to cut it based on the design that you are working with. Okay. And then you just have to make sure when you are cutting it yourself, you know where the design starts and where the design ends, so that you don't end up cutting it the wrong way. So once that's all done, the next thing we are going to do is we're going to adhere these stickers on the surfaces. Another advantage of working with this type of printout is that they do not fade. Okay, when you work with printouts done by these large format shops or large format printers, it's an ink printout, meaning it's not going to fade after some time. Good. So the use of the tweezers in this scenario is to avoid us from leaving fingerprints on the sticker when we are working with it. So remember to wear your gloves and then use the tweezers to peel the sticker from the back end. That way you don't leave any fingerprints or anything of that sort on the sticker. Right. So once you're working with the tweezers, you just have to make sure you direct the sticker on where you want it to be. So if you don't want it to be on directly on top of the flakes in some of the designs, you can work around that. If you want it to be on the flakes, you can work around that. So all you have to bear in mind is that you have to print the design based on the size of the mold you are working with. We'll also be doing a tutorial on how to design these inscriptions for your printout so that you realize how easy it is to do. Great. So once that's all done, this is what we are working with. So you realize because the sticker is transparent, it actually even looks like the inscriptions were printed directly on the keychain or on the surface. So next we are going to move on to doming the keychains. This resin has also been pre-mixed with hardener so as to not waste too much time with the project. So once we've poured the desired quantity we need for doming, we are going to move directly into the doming process. So remember, in the doming tutorial, we explained 3 main steps or 3 main characteristics you should observe when you are doming your piece. And then that's what you are supposed to observe or practice when you are doming this one as well. So the resin has to be clear, and then you should also make sure there are no bubbles in it. If there are bubbles, you can just pop them after you are done, and then you just move on with your project. And the surface also has to be round. Okay, the surface has to be round. So you are going to dome with clear resin. Make sure you cover it entirely and make sure it doesn't spill to the sides. Okay, when the resin spills to the sides, what happens is that you are going to end up having to trim all that excess resin when it cures. So now we're going to use a lighter to pop the bubbles on the surface. So it's the heat from the flame that is going to pop the bubbles. So don't send it too close to the mold. So once that's done, we are going to leave this to sit for another 24 hours. So this is it after 24 hours. You can see how glossy the surface is, and it's very solid as well. So from the sides, you can tell how round it looks at the surface. You are supposed to get this round surface so that you would get a smooth finish. If it doesn't have this round surface, you're not going to get a very smooth finish. So this is it after it was demolded. This is the first keychain that we made. It's very shiny. This is the next one that we also made, again with the transparent sticker as the inscriptions. So you can tell how neat and how glossy and shiny and perfect this whole project looks. This one here is the last one. Okay, so some actually ask if they have to demold the keychains from the mold before adding the inscriptions, but I always advise that to be on the safer side, always have your keychains still in the mold before you add your transparent sticker as the inscriptions, and then you would dome it. You understand? So once that's done, we are now going to proceed to drill the keychains or the pieces to add the key rings to complete the whole process. So with the help of the electric drill, we're going to drill these holes into the pieces. So whenever you're about to drill, you always have to bear in mind that you are not supposed to drill it too deep and you're not supposed to push the drill while you are working. So once you stay on the right side and you do all these correctly, your drill will work perfectly well and you'll be able to add in your key rings or your accessories without any struggle. So I repeated the same process for the other two pieces. I drilled the hole in them and then put them aside for the next step. So you realize that after drilling, you can clearly see that the hole has really been drilled in the keychains, ready for the eye screws to be included. So once that's done, we're just going to set the electric drill aside and move on to adding the eye screws. So the eye screw is this little pin or screw here. We are going to screw that into the pieces one after the other. So perfectly screw them in there so that it will serve as some kind of intermediary between the jump ring and then the piece you want to add the key ring to. So that's all you are going to do. You just screw in your eye screws tightly. So you're going to screw it in till you realize you cannot move it anymore. I always advise you either use a pin like we did in one of the previous tutorials, or you use your hand. Using the electric, not the electric, sorry, using the plier can actually end up breaking the eye screw, and that's going to affect the project we are doing. So once that's all done, the next thing we are going to do is to add in the to attach the key rings to the pieces that we have made now. So you realize you're just going to use your hand to just put in the eye screw so that you can proceed to the next step. So the jump ring is a little ring that connects the key ring to the project with the help of the eye screw. So normally you're going to it's more advisable to work with either one or two pliers to open up the jump ring by holding it on both ends and splitting it open. So that's what we are going to do, just like I'm doing here in the video. This is the normal process for adding the key rings to the resin pieces. Okay, so once that's done, you're going to just tighten it again with your pliers and then your key ring is ready. However, for today's project, I'm going to introduce you to a new tool that you can be working with. This is what we call the jump ring opener. It's a ring you can wear on your finger. It makes it very, very easy and makes working or adding your accessories or your jump rings very, very fast. It makes it very comfortable as well. So this is how we use it. You take your plier, you take your jump ring, you hold the jump ring on one end with a plier, and you're going to put it in the slit, okay, on that jump ring opener, and it's going to open the jump ring for you. So once you are done adding the last ring of the key ring onto the jump ring, you're going to repeat the same process to close it up again. And it's very, very easy, very, very easy to do. You're not going to struggle at all with this process. So we're going to repeat the same process again. You use the jump ring opener, open up the jump ring, pass it through the eye of the eye screw. You add the last ring of the key ring to it and you just close it up again. And yes, we are done with our key ring. So it's as simple as that. This is the simple tutorial on how to add transparent stickers to your keychains to inscribe or to customize them. And in today's tutorial, we've learned a lot as well. We have revisited the topic of doming. We have also talked about jump ring openers. We have also spoken about how you can mix different pigments of mica powder to create your own projects or your own desired color choice. Thank you so much for watching today's tutorial. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and remember to subscribe if you already haven't subscribed to our channel. And always watch this space for more updates on resin art. Bye bye.